And we are back on Turning the Tide with author John Weisman, the author of Kill Bin Laden. Sir, we have had a fascinating first 30 minutes talking about the different aspects of your book as fiction as opposed to reality. And so what I would like to talk about next is the correct tactical sequence of the raid. This is mentioned in the information given to me. And in the days, hours really even, and days after Osama bin Laden was killed, there were so many stories going around. This happened, no, that happened, and I was the one who knew, no, I knew, and all this stuff. And then, of course, that's when, I think it was Biden leaked SEAL Team 6. I could have smacked the guy. And all these things that were going on. Can you tell us, I mean, is there a way with all the knowledge that you have to explain to us what really happened?
Well, I can only surmise what really happened because nobody was talking.
Which is good.
Which is the way it should be. What I was able to do was to go to people who have done hundreds of these high-value target missions. And the Abbotabad mission used exactly the same template. As a matter of fact, one source told me that the PowerPoint that they used in what is known as a BUB, a B-U-B, or Battle Update Brief, which is the brief just before the mission, was the exact same PowerPoint as they use every other night, except the destination was different and the target was different. I was told, by the way, that the SEALs and Rangers in the strike force were not told who the target was until they were in Pakistani airspace. That obviously certain of the commanders knew, but that they were not told until they were in Pakistani airspace. The sequencing, though, is the way it was planned was to have two stealth choppers, helicopters, and followed by a third command helicopter known as an enabler aircraft, which would contain the command group and the SSE, which is sensitive site exploitation intelligence people. And some of those are Army, some of those are Navy, some of those are intelligence people. And a medical unit that would do DNA samples and other medical duties. And the first helicopter would come in, and the assault package would fast rope off that helicopter onto the roof of the building, and then go down onto the third floor terrace into the rooms and work their way down through the house. The second helicopter would land inside the walls of the compound. The second assault team would get out and blast its way through two walls and deal with the guest house and the first floor and possibly the first and second, depending on what the first team was doing of that. There would be a Ranger element in each of those helicopters that would secure the perimeter immediately. And then when the enabler aircraft, the MH-47, came in, there would be more Rangers to spread out in case the Pakistanis came in, and the Rangers were equipped with weaponry to take them out at longer distance. That is the package that I have been told went in. As you know, the first of those aircraft did not make it to allow the fast roping. It went down inside the compound, which meant the second helicopter had to land outside the compound, and it had to take off again before the enabler aircraft could come in because it had taken the enabler aircraft's space. So the mission was behind by, I would say, 2.5 to 3 minutes from the get-go.
Wow.
But they just persevered, and obviously these sorts of missions are red teamed, which means you try and figure out what the vulnerabilities are, where stuff can go wrong. What happens if we lose a helicopter? What happens if we lose the first one? What happens if we lose the second one? What happens if we lose the enabler? And there have to be redundancies, and there has to be cross training, and there has to be all sorts of stuff going on when these guys go in, which they all do in preparation. I mean,
they did train really extensively for this particular mission, right?
They trained more extensively than they do for a normal every night, because it was a 3-level compound, and they did train in the States, having built a replica of this thing. So I think the SEALs involved had some idea that this was going to be a really high value target. I don't think, as I said, I don't think they were informed until they were in Pakistani airspace that it was going to be the man who was known with the call sign of Crankshaft, which is how bin Laden was known.
Okay, I was going to ask you, was that surmising on your part, or because you
no,
they weren't told till they were in the air?
That is what I was told. So, and I was told that by someone who should know these sorts of things.
Okay. Well, it is fascinating to say the least. Now, let's get to the point. We know that, well, SEALs, you mentioned that the first helicopter went down, and we all knew that, of course, because people told us more than they should have. But SEALs are trained for every eventuality, like you said, and so all they did was just adapt and move forward, right?
That is correct.
That's what they do. Okay. Now what I would like to know is after, they put bin Laden, they identified him positively, and then they took his body out to the Vincent. Can you share with us what actually happened when they arrived?
Well, I will share some of it with you, but to be perfectly honest, that particular part of the novel is exclusive to me. No one else has that story, and I'm happy to titillate your listeners. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
where were we?
Well, you were just saying that you'd be happy to titillate my listeners as to what really happened when bin Laden was taken out to the Vincent.
Yes. Well,
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's the Carl Vinson, a very, very famous congressman who was a big proponent of force from the sea, projecting force from the sea. 2 Osprey aircraft arrived with the body and with also a group of operators, no doubt SEALs, and the body was taken off one of the Ospreys, and it was disposed of off the Vinson with in accordance with Islamic law, and then the SEALs climbed back on the aircrafts and went back to Pakistan. Exactly what happened, people are going to have to read the book to learn. But let me say that it is very far from every single account I have read in print. And the reason for that is that the Carl Vinson was basically shut down for almost a day. There was no internet. There was no Wi-Fi. There was no cell phones. There was nothing coming in or going out of that ship electronically except stuff in the that was necessary for the running of the ship and classified transmissions. Most of the crew of the Vinson was kept below decks, except for some very senior people who were on deck to deal with the aircraft when they came in. And so nobody really knows except me. And, of course, the very few people who were on the Vincent who saw what was going on. And it is, as I say, Candace, very, very different from every single press account you've read.
I liked it. I thought it was
well,
good.
Great. I'm delighted.
I liked what you did. You know, I'm a pretty fierce patriot, sir, and so the book beginning to end was just, I loved every aspect of it. Are you willing to share with us why you felt it was so important to write this book? I mean, I know HarperCollins came to you and you did some research and decided to go ahead with it, but did you have a personal reason as to why you felt it was important?
I did, actually. I felt that we really should pay tribute to the people who work without a net. We tend to take the folks who protect us for granted. You know, the armed forces is an all-volunteer group, and the people who work in the intelligence community are basically volunteers too. I mean, this is not something that they are drafted for. And sometimes I think we just accept what these people are doing for us for granted. And it is a very small part of the population that is in uniform and working in the intelligence community. And I felt that if I could in some way show their passion and show their dedication to mission and show that they do care with a huge degree about their country, the people who live in their country, and demonstrate by showing rather than telling their patriotism. It would be a good thing to get that word out to as wide an audience as possible.
Well, I think you accomplished that.
Well, I hope so.
You really did. Your characters are very realistic. They convey. I know SEALs myself. I come from a military family. The book is as accurate as it can possibly be, being fiction, and I do believe it is something that every person in America needs to read. Now, I say this often to my listeners, but I'm very careful about the different authors that I interview on my show. I'm very, very particular about who I interview. And so I am saying to all of the Turning the Tide listeners all over the world, I need you to pick up a copy of Kill Bin Laden by Mr. John Weisman and read it. You are going to be blown away. You are going to truly understand how it all came together, all the pieces, all the players, and the troubles that they ran into. And you will be able to truly begin to understand the true character of the heroes that we have out there, and that it really behooves us as Americans, per se, to stand up behind our military and to support them the way they should and need to be supported. So, Mr. Weisman, thank you. Thank you so much for writing this book so that message can get out there.
Candace, you're welcome, and thank you for a wonderful hour.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I was really looking forward to this interview, and I'm glad we managed to pull it off finally. And so thank you. I am also a reviewer for U.S. Daily Review, and so I'm going to be reviewing your book in that newspaper in a couple of weeks, just so you know, and I'll get that link to Daniel when it's done, okay?
Oh, that's wonderful of you. And tell all your readers, your listeners, once they've read KVL, to post their reviews on Amazon and anywhere else they choose to.
I will tell them. Actually, a lot of my listeners love to read as much as I do, and we review a lot of things. So you should get a lot of good reviews out of this, okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You bet, John. Have a wonderful night.
You too, and a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.